Headed to the nation's capital as the Carolina Hurricanes head to Washington, D.C. to take on the Capitals. Carolina heading into this game 20-10-1. Washington heading in 28-8-2. Basically the best two teams in the Metro going at it tonight. As we take a look at some of the team stats, Carolina leading in most every department as well in this game as well too. Outside of the goals for department, Washington with a 3.81 goals for has them second in the NHL for goals for. Carolina at a 3.61 has them fourth in the NHL. What do you guys expect out of this game, seeing as these are two very high-flying offenses with very good defenses as well too?
I think you nailed it. I think it's going to be a game of inches. I think it's going to be a game won and lost, not 5-on-5. I think it's going to be whoever wins that battle. I think Kim, you mentioned it earlier. That's going to be the key to this hockey game. And then we're going to have a battle in that too. I think who knows who's going to get the start for us, but we think the rotation is going to happen for the Capitals. So. Biggest thing is do exactly what we did against Ottawa, do exactly what we did against the Islanders in Columbus, and this game will be in good shape. So we just got to stick to our game plan. You hate to keep saying this like we're a broken record, but when we get to our game, we get to our forecheck early in the game, and we put teams on their heels. That's when we really strive, and so we just got to get there early.
Yeah, I think it's special teams is huge for sure. I think that's going to win or lose the game, honestly. So, hopefully for the Canes is that the Capitals don't have the best power play. They got a good penalty kill though, so the Canes are going to really have to capitalize on the chances they have on the power play. So, I do see it looks like Washington is on a 2-game losing streak right now, so that might play an impact on who's in the lineup, what lines are with, who's with what line kind of thing. So with Ovechkin out, it's really kind of basically, the coach is just looking, hey, who's going to take the reins while he's gone? Who's going to man the ship? And, they've done it so far. I mean, they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. So they've been winning games for sure. But yeah, the last two haven't been good for them. So hopefully the Canes can capitalize on that.
And then we will take a look at the standings heading into tonight's game, taking a special look at the Metro Division as both teams come out of there. New Jersey leading the division at 45 points with 34 games played. Washington right behind them, 44 points with 31 games played. And then Carolina right behind Washington with 41 points and 31 games played. So two top three teams, basically playoff teams as of right now, headed to tonight's matchup. It's going to be, I feel, a very tight checking affair. I can't imagine it getting too loose. But the one thing I wanted to point out, and I know this isn't on our stat side of it, but I just want to show the top three teams in the Metro are the only three teams with a positive goal differential, which is a wild stat to see every once in a while. So New Jersey at a +27, Washington at a +35, Carolina at a +25, and then everyone else is in the negative in the Metro Division. So clearly it's kind of a runaway train right now, but I'll pass it over to you guys. What are you guys seeing off the standings so far?
Well, it's kind of what we expected, I think, heading into the early season predictions. We expected those three teams.
I didn't expect Washington to be up there. I'm not going to lie.
I didn't expect Washington.
I did too.
I thought it was going to be New York.
Yeah. But you're right. Sorry, but I was going to say, but New York is the one that surprised me, and I think all the rest of us, that they're as much of a dumpster fire as they are right now. So, but you never know. I mean, like you said, Washington's injecting some youth into the lineup and getting it going, and then you got a good coach. He's a good players coach, and he's pushing the envelope, and Ovi seems to be having a resurgence here. Unfortunately, he got injured, but you never know. You never know with a new coach what happens to a player. I mean, he's had him for a couple of years, but I think their Capitals are a surprise.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a surprise. I mean, I definitely expected the position of right now the Rangers and the Capitals to be swapped at the beginning of the year before any games were played. I expected the Capitals to be about a 500 team, and then I expected the Rangers to be battling for first, second, or third in the Metro basically the whole year. So, yeah, I mean, the Capitals picked up a lot of good pieces in the offseason. Chikrin being one of them. I think that's a huge add for them. He's such a good player. I don't know why Ottawa let him go. I'm assuming it was cap reasons or they just don't care. I have no idea, but he's such a good defenseman. So he had such, a good anchor to the back end that they needed for a long time. They kind of really didn't have it. They had Carlson and that was pretty much it. And when Orlov left, they kind of left a hole and they didn't really fill it. And that's kind of where Chikrin's coming in. They're younger, they're faster. Carberry's looking for young guys to step up, and they're definitely doing it. So everybody's contributing. I'm not seeing like really anybody kind of running away with the points, honestly. I mean, Dylan Strome obviously is having a year for sure, but you got a lot of guys in the 20s, and hey, they're getting wins. So the Canes need to be ready.
And they're good. They're good in net too. So
for
I
sure.
think that's a difference. They haven't been really good in net consistently in the last handful of years, but this is a different look.
Speaking of players doing well, we're going to take a look at the Washington Capitals 3 players to watch for tonight. We have Dylan Strome, Pierre-Luc Dubois, or PL Dubois, whatever he wants at this point in his life, and then John Carlson are the 3 players to watch for Washington. The biggest name on this list, Dylan Strome, having another outstanding season. 27 assists, 11 goals for 38 points through 31 games so far. He's also been a massive reason why Alex Ovechkin has all of a sudden had this crazy, before the injury, everybody was fully expecting him to break Gretzky's goal record this year. And now it's kind of like, oh, maybe this year, maybe end of next year, or maybe beginning of next year. I think it's going to get broken either way because a guy like Dylan Strome is doing what a man that has been the longtime center for Alex Ovechkin has done. It's set him up. He's like a new Nick Backstrom for him, and he's just competing. He's doing well, and 27 assists so far through the season. He almost assists a game. I mean, that is Nick Backstrom numbers. But I'll pass it over to you guys. What do we need to do to shut these 3 guys down?
Well, I think you just got to, like I said, take away their time and their space. Get to our game and get in their face, and don't let them get transition going. And again, to Cameron's point, keep them off the power play because they're dangerous when they get the man advantage. The numbers don't necessarily show it per se, but again, Ovechkin's been out, and I think in their early game that we played against them here in Raleigh, that Ovechkin got a power play goal. I mean, and it was just like we just got to keep them. Don't give them those opportunities because they'll make you pay for it. And Strome is he's one of those guys. He's whenever you say man up, he's stepped up and his game is elevated. And I think he's really been, for me, the biggest difference maker on this team this year. And then obviously, kids like that McMichael kid, he's really getting a lot of rope from coach. And, and then, Carlson on the back end, he's just steady Eddie, man. He's year in, year out, the same guy. Will go down as one of the greatest American-born players to play the game. Probably the best, but he's going to go down in that he's going to have in that, maybe that top 10 or top 15, but he's the reason, why they're having a good go especially on the special team side of the world.
Yeah, I think, these 3 guys they're instrumental to what, the Capitals do when they play. So Strome, obviously, the new setup guy, the new Backstrom, Ovi missed that a lot last year. And I think he just, towards the end, I think he just kind of gave up. So, I saw him in the playoffs. It looked like he was barely skating. He was just kind of coasting everywhere. So, I think Strome basically, said, hey, I can be that guy. And he stepped up and he's showing that he can, and you having, some guys that don't have, huge names that are putting up, good numbers. I guess we don't think of Pierre Dubois as having a huge name, but 22 points already this season. I can't remember the last time he had that many points.
Yeah, that was more the reason why I wanted to highlight him, is that he from where he was to now, it's definitely made a massive improvement. He was he was a top.
I know
he was either top 5 or top 10 pick in the draft. So
he was, and he just hasn't found a fit anywhere. Everywhere he's gone, he's kind of, I don't know, stirred the pot or whatever, and ended up having to get traded or requesting a trade somewhere or whatever. But yeah, he's found his place, which is good. He's been really good. And then obviously Carlson is just, like you said, one of the best American-born defensemen definitely for me a Hall of Famer for sure. He'll probably be one of the better defensemen that is one of those kind of like, I would say, Slavin-ish, where he does everything right on the D side. Maybe doesn't get a whole lot on the side of, like, on the point side. Doesn't get a whole lot of points, but still 23 points in 31 games is pretty good for a defenseman. Again, if the if the most valuable defenseman in the league trophy was based on not just how many goals they get and based on overall play between points and defensive efficiency, I mean, he'd be right up there every year for sure.
But it's very hard to argue with that. The Hall of Fame one is interesting, but now I'm looking at his career stats of 1,040 games and 697 points. Yeah, it's probably not too far off from where he needs to be anyways.
Yeah, it's pretty good for a defenseman. Stanley Cup
winner. Yes, doesn't have the Norris hardware or anything like that, but I mean, not a terrible shout for sure. I definitely think him and Slavin will make bids towards the end of their career and probably not having the hardware that is necessary to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But speaking of players to watch for Carolina, outside of Jacob Slavin, let's take a look at our three players to watch tonight. It is Andrei Svechnikov, Jordan Martinook, who has his most points at 16, his start of season through his career through 30 games at 16 points so far. And then Shane Gostisbehere, who has been starting to find his goal scoring ability as of late. Again, it feels like he's going to be very instrumental on the power play, but I'll pass it over to you guys. What do we need to see out of these three guys in order to be on the better end of this Metro matchup?
I think Svetch has just got to do his thing. I mean, he's got to get to his game. He's got to play hard. He can't play soft. He tends to still have that, I'll call it that soft play or two in the D zone that really scares the crap out of me every time I see it. And, but he'll also then make a plays where he goes really hard to the net and it's just an absolute power forward. So I think he's got to be a power forward against a team like the Capitals, and he's got to get inside and he's got to create havoc. And he can't play soft. He can't do it. And Martinook is he's a machine. He's just got to keep doing what he's doing. He and Carrier and Stahl, they're connected at the hip right now. And they just know what each other's going to do. It's almost like they have sixth sense. And I think Carrier is slotted in so perfectly on that line. And he's added an element that Martinook doesn't always have to be the heavy lifter. And it's showing in his points, to your point, Kyle. And then on the, I just think those two guys are going to be instrumental in the outcome of this hockey game. And, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think these three guys are, special teams for me. Svech power play, Gostisbehere in the power play, and then Martinook, one of the best penalty killers, really. So it's all, this game is going to be very much a special teams battle. 5-on-5 is going to be tight. It's going to be tight checking. Responsibility in the neutral zone is probably going to win the game, just like most nights. So it really just depends. If the power play and the penalty kill are on Friday, I think the Canes have a really good shot of winning this game for sure.
And you always need to rely on your best penalty killer. And speaking of your best penalty killer, we will take a look at tonight's goaltending matchup. Starting in net, as we suspect for Washington, will be Logan Thompson, who comes into this game 12-2-2 with a 2.48 goals against and a 9.11 save percentage. And then starting in net for Carolina, the crazy Russian Pyotr Kochetkov at a 13-5-0 record, a 2.47 goals against and a 9.02 save percentage. Pyotr coming off of his first shutout of the season. He is actually the leading shutout guy for any goalie from 2022 when he started basically being a full-time goalie until now. He's got the most shutouts out of any goalie, beating Hullebeck, beating anybody else. So he adds another total onto his list that is his 9th career shutout so far through his 83 games in the NHL. So great numbers for the kid in that regard. It's more about just seeing the consistency out of him now. And hopefully we see him build off of his game last night into just becoming a better and better goalie, because I've seen a lot of crap on the internet lately. that people think Kochetkov is not the guy and he will never be able to bring us to a cup. And I think that's total and utter bullshit. But I'll pass it over to you guys. I'll see what you guys see.
Yeah, I know. I think the kid took a step last night, or against the Islanders. I think we've said it in previous, and I mean I've said it in previous, but he's had to been able to make that save when the game was really on the line, because really, the game against the Islanders, and we'll talk about it in next week's episode, but it was a pretty evenly played game. We just won the goalie battle when the reality of it. So, but he made those saves. I mean, didn't just make saves. He made some damn 10 bell saves to keep the hockey game swaying in the favor of the Hurricanes. So, he was, my opinion, best player on the ice for both teams. So he's just got to do that again, plain and simple, because he's going up against a good goaltender in Logan Thompson. So he's got great numbers. They've been splitting the bill, so they're probably not tired. He's probably fresh. He's only played 15 or 16 games, so it's not going to be an easy task for them. But I think if the kid can play like he played and has played in the last couple of games, we'll be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I hope it's another notch in the tool belt. You hate to see him kind of regress and go back to, letting in some of the soft goals he kind of has been guilty of this year. I'm sure we'll see another game where he does let in a few.
Hey, every goal he's going to let in
you
softs.
just kind of are sitting there scratching your head, but for sure. Yeah, every goal is going to do it. So it's just about, making sure that he stays if he can keep that consistency from last night, he's not going to get a shutout every night. It's not going to happen. But again, if he can limit the goals to 3 or under, I have full confidence the Canes can score 4. So it's one of those where, each game you go into, you wonder, okay, how many goals can you let in and still be, it's all right at that point. So I think against Washington, I think it's 3. So if he can keep it or 3 or under, I think the Canes can win the game for sure. But yeah, I mean, he got his fellow countryman pulled last night. So listen, he's doing his thing, and I hope it continues for sure, because he looked really good last night for sure. He looked locked in.
That will be tonight's matchup, 7 p.m. puck drop in the nation's capital as the Carolina Hurricanes head to Washington, D.C. to take on the Capitals for tonight's matchup. So first of all, final score predictions. What do you got, Cam? And then I'll pass it over to you, Dad.
I think it's going to be a 1-goal game, and I'm going to go 4-3.
4-3.
I think the
All right,
Canes
Dad,
win
what do you got?
4-3.
I agree. It's 1-goal game. I think it's going to be. I'm not sure I'm going to go that high on the score. I'll probably go 3-2 in overtime.
I'm taking a 4-0 win again. So rinse and repeat from the previous game. I think Kochetkov's on his game. I think it's going to be good. And I think Carolina's offense has figured it out. So that is where we will leave you guys. But as we always say, let's go Canes.